it affected poor little 10-year-olds that went down and had a limited allowance. With me today is good friend Frank Capuano. He was with me when we both went down to the Smoke Shop, which was our favorite place to get comic books. And Frank, do you remember what it was like having all the DC Universe, everything there, 25 cents allowance, you can get two comic books, and then all of a sudden Marvel starts appearing?
Yeah, it was, trying to think, it was like you wanted your regulars. I had my regulars I had to buy, DCs, maybe a couple others that weren't DC, but then all of a sudden you had to keep glancing over and say, God, look at what's, there's Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, even something like Ant-Man, Iron Man, and it's, now you had a little problem. Life, it was tough enough coming up with the money to buy the ones all the DCs you wanted, and then you had this, you just had to see what was happening there with Marvel.
Well, I don't even remember seeing Amazing Fantasy 15 on the shelf. I mean, I don't know how much attention I paid to all those horror comics they had. I don't think I ever bought one. I mean, they looked so inferior. Looked like they were so cheap. And when you had people like Carmen Infantino and Kurt Swan, I mean, the quality seemed so much better. And they didn't even really appear on the radar for me until probably almost a year after they started coming out with Fantastic Four.
Same with me. It was just like minor league. I don't know if I described that before, but like a minor league comic company. It covers everything, and it's just, they weren't that attractive. Like you said, yeah, mostly monsters and stuff, and big guys like the Thing. And but I'm trying to remember. I guess the Spider-Man just attracted us.
Well, obviously, it's in Tales of the Smoke Shop, and we can revisit it there, or they can go to the website and read, I think it's chapter 3 or 4 of Tales, and what it was like going down there bugging Ramito. You buy 1,000 comics, you get one free. And he finally gave us a free comic, and of course that was our first one. We said, well, we'll take a chance on the B League and see what it was like.
That's right, because it was free. We didn't have to waste their 12 cents.
Well, 12 cents was, back then,
why,
that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, if you're going to get one free and you didn't never spend any money on a Marvel, that had to be why we did it.
Well, obviously we liked it, and I remember going back then and buying Fantastic Four 12, the one with the Hulk, because I thought, it's 2 for 1, a crossover. DC, did it rarely, but here was, you could get the Hulk and you could get Fantastic Four. And even though, it was Jack Kirby, but the artwork wasn't all that great compared to DC. The story was pretty cool, and I think at least it was different.
Well, that's the other thing. Well, 2 things I just, commenting Amazing Fantasy 15, didn't even notice that. But I guess I started, maybe I didn't have to buy Marvels even after the first Spider-Man, because my friend up the street would buy, the only DCs he would buy basically were the Superman family, and then he would buy Charlton Comics and...
Who was that?
Bob Long.
I remember Bob.
Right, 7 houses up.
Got a couple comic books from him, but...
Yeah, and he would buy, it seems like he had, he liked the Hulk and stuff like that, so I guess I'd read them there and wouldn't have to worry about buying them. And what was the other thing that was coming up? Oh, well, after rereading last night, what was I rereading? Oh, one of the Spider-Man...
number 8?
Yeah, with the tail you'll never...
I
gotta give him...
greatest comic on Fantastic Four after like issue 3.
The thing I didn't like was how he said, all of a sudden, we are the greatest and everything like that. But the other thing is you got to give Stan Lee credit. I mean, I don't know what that guy was doing every day to just think of them stories. Just think of the whole issue was Spider-Man couldn't fight back. So then at the end he goes, "Do you ever think you'd read a comic book where a superhero didn't, or a Marvel without not one fist thrown by our hero or something?" I said, "Why does this guy?" He thought of everything. He had the plots with Aunt May and
Stan Lee, I give him a ton of credit, and he was an ultimate salesman and tied in. But it kind of goes back to the Marvel method compared to the DC method.
Right,
I mean, DC. The artist worked off a synopsis, very detailed.
Oh.
And they would actually have it all outlined where they had to go page by page, panel by panel, and follow the script. And Stan Lee said, shoot, that takes too long to do. So the artist would actually create the whole magazine, and then he would go in and fill in the dialogue. So it was a lot quicker for him. Stan got a lot more money because obviously he could do more pages. And then it gave artists like Kirby and Ditko a lot more leeway, and so they were actually creating the comics almost like a silent movie, and then Lee would go in and fill it in, which sometimes caused a little friction because apparently he wasn't exactly following what Ditko and Kirby had in mind. But it came out pretty good, and it certainly got things away and unexpected. And
it was revolutionary in a way, revolutionary. But who came up with the story then if the artist is drawn it first?
Well, what happened, they would have like a little meeting, and Lee would say, okay, let's do for issue 7, 8, and 9, let's bring in, these supervillains. He would write a short couple paragraph synopsis, and the artist would take that and then actually plot the whole comic book.
So they
from there.
actually had a hand in writing the story in a way.
Almost like a movie producer doing a silent movie and then adding the script later, which is why, of course, Kirby always claimed co-creation because he's doing all the, I don't know, say all the work, and obviously you have to have both of them doing some great stuff.
Yeah,
but,
I'd say maybe 60-40 Stanley and Kirby, maybe 50-50, 60-40.
You can't underestimate what Kirby did for that, for those comics, but. I noticed you got a couple of them over there, and to show everybody what an early DC versus an early Marvel and what we were actually seeing on the stands is kind of interesting. So.
Yeah, well, when I was into Marvel bashing the other day, but this is still, this is
okay.
The point we were talking about. If you want to hold up in Avengers compared to... the difference.
Well, I think what strikes me is the Flash. Of course, Carmen Infantino is just one of the best ever. It looks like this for the Marvel was probably penciled by Kirby, probably inked by either Don Heck or one of the other ones.
Dick Ayers, maybe.
But the colors, I mean, my gosh, that half of the issue kind of bleeds out. And you can't really tell. There's so much going on. You got the Hulk in the background. You've got Captain America. What is going on? Where it seems so much cleaner with the Flash and
But I also, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sure.
I also seem to remember in those first year at least, seemed like every background was this off-white grayish. And then the artist, everyone.
Spider-Man #1 was like that. I think Amazing 15 was
and then you get like the Flash. Even the title of the comic, they gave a different color.
They would pop off of that wall of comics. They would really pop.
Even in the 50s, Rex the Wonder Dog. Now look at the colors there. And this is 1960.
Yeah.
But
no comparison.
It was kind of like all of a sudden, I don't know, a time in history, like the Renaissance. And we were there. I was saddened to see DC had became a great rival, and then DC got in flux and changed, and at the same time, maybe they were panicking, or everything happened at once. Maybe some change in the editors. You probably know more about that. I remember reading some stuff, and I can't remember now. But
well, certainly they reacted to what was going on in the marketplace as their share kind of shrunk and Marvel's expanded. So then they tried to imitate Marvel, which probably is the wrong direction. They should have maybe hung in there and tried to do a little bit, taking what they do best and
I was
keep
thinking
going on
they'd
that.
just stick to their guns and why just keep doing what they're doing. They had great writers, great science fiction, and great artists.
Oh, Jules Schwartz and Gardner Fox, and I mean those guys were tremendous.
John Broome.
I mean, looking back, as my son would say, it's so much easier to connect the dots. Going down and all of a sudden having competition for the DCs really hit my budget. And I remember the first ones to go were like Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Adventure Comics, and